Hello, everybody, and welcome to another OgreCast. I'm Ogre. I will be your host for this game of StarCraft 2 between KillerB, the Blue Terran, and Sixears, who is the Red Protoss. And, yeah, KillerB's climbing up the Diamond Ladder. He is 1660 or so right now. Um, so playing some decent quality players. I haven't actually looked into see what Sixears is ranked before doing this. Actually, I'm going to do that right now. Hold on to your hat. And believe it or not, I am back almost instantaneously, and just checked out Sixears' profile, and he is a platinum level 1v1 player. Um, so, yeah, not going to be the most difficult opponent you would think, but actually this battle ends up being a pretty hardy one, and so it could be that that Killer B actually ends up losing to a platinum level player, but we will see and analyze exactly how this match plays out. Um, yeah, just shooing away this little probe here. He wanted to sit there and look for a push out, but only got to see one Marauder and one Marine, so not too much scouting info there. Kind of want to be watching out for that probe if he is going to be sitting at the bottom, and be able to run him away before any kind of troops can go polish him off. And Killer B actually did check behind these trees, which is a good thing to do if you see a probe anywhere near your base, because that is one of the places that Protoss is going to put a proxy pylon. Another one is actually kind of over in this general region here, is hard to scout, or generally people forget to scout there. But if you are going to put a proxy pylon over to the right, it has to be, yeah, it has to be at the back, out of the Zelnaga Towers range. Just for all you Protoss players out there, or budding Protoss players, I should say, who thought about playing them but didn't know where to put a proxy pylon on Zelnaga Caverns. And now that you know, you're actually probably willing to play as Protoss. So we got a little push in here, lots of Marauders, only one Marine who gets taken out. Good force field, kind of keeping these Marauders from pushing up too hard. Killer B was actually very smart to back out before the force field went down, because if he got caught in there, he probably wasn't going to win that battle, because Protoss can warp in more units, and there was nothing there to reinforce these Marauders. Would have been pretty tight, but definitely would have lost all of the Marauders, and by keeping them out here, he's going to have an actual, quite a sizable force. And when you've got 6 or 7 Marauders, you can actually target fire very well, because of the range of Marauders, and because of the unit mix of Protoss, they can't really target fire because of, well, you can't have everything hotkeyed to 1, say, and target fire, because then your zealots aren't going to spread out, and it's really bad for the micro. So, yeah, when you got these Marauders and there's a Guardian Shield up, you do want to pick off that sentry. But looks like Killer B is just going to go into a full retreat. He's got lots and lots of Marauders here, and in the army tab, we can actually see that the armies are fairly even. So there's not going to be a successful push in by Protoss when the armies are so even like that. We got Killer B putting up an engineering bay, probably to get those upgrades, maybe a turret, not exactly sure, and a starport coming up. And a medevac is going to make a Marauder force so much more potent, because the Marauder does have pretty good armor and hit points. So, for example, you end up with Marauders with a little bit of hit points left, whereas if you're going Marines, generally if they're getting attacked, they're going to be either dead or at full hit points. So you got these Marauders that are left after early pushes that are a little bit injured, and once you get your first medevac out, you can heal them up to full health, and actually end up with quite a bit larger army than you would if you did an early push with Marines. thanks to the amount of units that you can save with, 30 out of 125 hit points. Anyway, if you could follow that, I don't know. Maybe it didn't make a whole lot of sense, but so we do have the engineering bay up. We have weapons being upgraded. No reactor yet on the starport, and when you're off of one base, it's actually a good idea not to put the reactor up right away. You can squeeze out a couple of medevacs, and that's all you're going to need for these very early times in the game. And then you can get your core on for when you're going to have two bases up. Because right now you should be focusing on pumping Marauders and one or two medevacs, as opposed to having too many unit producing buildings and not being able to produce out of all of them at the same time. So we have a factory sitting there doing nothing, and that is primarily because I think KillerB is trying to stick with a mobile force. And good force fields there splitting up. Like, look at the Marauders in the back, can't get any shots off. They are going to be able to pick off these Stalkers, and with that concussive shell upgrade, really going to be able to do a whole lot of damage. Even stims up to be able to take some pot shots at those sentries, but not going to be able to quite pick them off entirely. A couple of them, no, they didn't really take any hit point damage. But that was a good speedy reinforcement there. Good pylon placement, because the Marauders are going to be having to push from the top from KillerB. They're not going to know exactly where this is, this pylon, and I doubt it's even scouted. We'll just take a look at KillerB's perspective. No, he hasn't scouted that pylon, so he can't do a run-in to pick it off. So, anyway, unless if he captures this watchtower, he's going to be able to see it. And KillerB does have his expansion up and running. A bunker here looks like another bunker going down to this left-hand side. I'm not sure why he chose that exact location, because a push-in from here, I'm not sure if it usually gets in deep enough for this to have an effect, but I mean, there's probably some thought process behind it. I'm not exactly sure what it is. We do have a core on this starport, nothing being built. We've got two Hellions coming out. And one of those things is, like, without that core, it seems like you'd be able to fund continuing to make medevacs. But with the core, you're more likely to say, well, I can't afford two medevacs, so I'm not really going to build any. I'm going to be building out of my other unit producing structures. We'll just take a look at the units tab to see. We've got 53 probes to 33 SCVs. Really good probe production from Sixears. Looks like the SCVs haven't quite been pumped out as fast. Kind of expect KillerB to have more SCVs at this point in the game, but he does have a good amount to saturate what is left of these mineral patches, but would definitely like to see more SCV production out of him in the, well, constant SCV production. We got them coming out right now. Looks like a push coming out for Sixears. Interesting unit combination. He has one immortal, and for this Marauder heavy force, really would like to see more immortals in that army composition before he pushes out, because he knows that it's just mass Marauders. So I mean, he gets a few shots off with that immortal, but definitely gets target fired down by KillerB. Good force field placement. It managed to really wreak havoc on the Marauder unit placement. A lot of them couldn't get around the force fields to get any shots off, but unfortunately, rallying in these zealots at that point in time, with the Stalkers retreating, they're going to be able to be microed very easily. And look at that, the concussive shells are going to be able to pick those off. That is extra units lost that he did not have to lose. And if we look at the resources lost tab, we can see that almost every battle has really, as far as resources go, gone in KillerB's favor. He's managed to pick off those straggling Stalkers at the back, lots and lots of zealots, and So the concussive shells, as it usually goes, have really paid for themselves against this Protoss enemy. And again, just have one immortal here, and if we take a look at the production tab, we do have one more immortal coming out. We have charge for the zealots, which I think is a good investment against marauders. But we don't have... Oh, there we go. We have zealots warping in right now. 900 minerals saved up, 500 gas. Looks like Sixears could be doing a little bit better at his macro and spending his money. Very good money